All right. Welcome, everyone. Super excited to have folks here. Thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with us. We'll go ahead and get started in just 1 minute. But as you're getting situated, if you're having any technical issues, if you can't hear, please flag for us. We want to make sure that you can get the most out of the next 45 minutes with us, hearing all things Pickles Group. Definitely see some comments in the chat, and just thanks for hopping on and spending some time with us on Friday. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm super excited to have folks here today. It is the end of the calendar year, and that's always a really exciting time for us to reflect at Pickles Group, think about everything that we've been able to accomplish in the year that has passed. And especially as a young, growing organization, it's really an opportunity to benchmark and think about where are we going next year, what have we learned? And we're just really thrilled to have the opportunity to share a little bit of that with you today. In terms of what you can expect in the next 45 minutes, it's going to be quick. Hopefully, it'll be really valuable for you. You'll leave knowing a lot about where we are and where we're going. I'm Cassie Horton. I'm the executive director, and I'm going to give you really kind of a behind the scenes look at what we've learned this year, what we've been up to. We're also going to do just a little refresher about who we are and the work we do, since we've got some folks who are coming in a little bit newer to Pickles Group, or they haven't heard that from us before. And then I'm also really excited to spend a bit of time introducing you to our team. That's one of the really cool things about being a young, growing organization is we're just continuing to add incredible volunteers, but also staff to our team. They'll want to share some highlights with you towards the end. And then we'll also have time for question and answers. We'll try to get through all of that in the next 45 minutes and be really mindful of your time. But just excited to share because there is so much incredible work happening for kids whose parents have cancer. And none of it would be possible without our families, our volunteers, our donors, our hospital partners. So really thrilled to kind of give you the latest and greatest as we get really close to ending the year and starting a new one. So with that, we'll go ahead and jump on in. This is probably a refresher for most of you, but I'd be remiss talking about the organization and kind of reflecting on where we are 3 years in without really expressing gratitude and talking a little bit about our origin story and our three founding families. For folks who don't know already, my background is all in education and youth services. And one of the things that was the most compelling to me and special to me when I heard about Pickles Group is really the fact that we are founded based on the lived experiences of three families, all of whom were personally impacted by a parent's cancer and really united to try to figure out and solve for a problem that they were struggling to solve for, which is what do we do about our kids? How do we support our kids through this experience? And the real nuts and bolts of it, the reason that we exist and the reason that we're laser focused on supporting kids whose parents have cancer, it actually comes down to one of the kiddos on the screen, Molly Agnew, the eldest daughter in that specific family. As her dad was going through chemotherapy, Molly went to her dad and said, "This is really hard. I'm having a tough time, and my friends at school don't get it. They don't get what it's like to have a parent with cancer. I can't talk to them. I'd like to be connected to other kids who get what this is like." So that's really why we exist. And we're very grateful for the opportunity to take something that was kind of a gap in the system in terms of real wraparound support, thoughtful support for kids whose parents have cancer, and to be able each year to kind of grow and deliver on what Molly was looking for and what these families hope to be able to provide to other families. Just a little refresher about us, why we exist, how we got started. And you'll hear lots about our founding families and the ways they're still connected to the organization and helping us do this work through our emails, through updates, all that good stuff, especially as we get to the end of the year. So beyond that and that origin story, and so many of you, frankly, know this better than I do. From your vantage point, we've got folks on the call who are really doing the work, directly supporting patients as oncology nurses, as oncology social workers. Maybe going through a graduate school program where this is the work that they aspire to do. But kind of the double-edged sword of this work is that unfortunately, more young folks are being diagnosed with cancer than ever before. And as a result, that means we've got more parenting age folks who are coming into the hospital system who are seeking treatment. And there have been a lot of reports that have come out recently to talk about that, to lift that up. So we're really trying to shine a light on both this patient population and also the needs of their kids. Right now, the best estimates are that there are about 3.5 million parents across the country navigating a cancer diagnosis, and even more kids than that, kind of going through this experience and this challenge that we talked about. So, in terms of Pickles Group and what we're focused on, and we'll really continue to be focused on, it is this laser focus on providing free resources, free peer to peer support to kids whose parents have cancer. And we're very grateful. You'll get to hear more from our program team today, from our staff, from our Chief Clinical Officer, Kelsey Mora. One of the good things about doing this work is that there's actually research out there that shows best practices to help us support the kiddos who are experiencing a parent's cancer. And that's really what we lean into with everything that we're already doing at Pickles Group and everything that we're thinking about for next year, pilot programs, things that we're really doing that are new to address our families' needs. We're all about helping families and helping kids have age appropriate conversations about cancer, understand cancer. That's a real pillar of our work that differentiates us from other organizations. We're here to help those kids build coping skills. They might already have some tools in their toolkit, but we know providing them with support at this moment can be incredibly helpful. And beyond that, like Molly said, as I talked about at the beginning, that connection to peers, giving kids a space to be connected with other kids who really understand what it's like to have a parent with cancer, who aren't uncomfortable with that as a concept. That in and of itself is really healing, protective, and supportive for kids. So everything we do, everything I talk about today in terms of, things we're piloting, where we're going next year, this is still our core theory of action. And it has been since day one, and we will continue to really lean into that. So I'm very excited to share our progress this year. A lot of what we want to talk about is the impact that you have helped make possible in 2024. So at Pickles Group, 2024 was our third full year as a nonprofit organization. And what we've seen during these 3 years is that we have doubled our impact thanks to you year over year. Our first to second year. And then we're very proud again from our second to third year that we have doubled all of our most important impact stats in terms of families that we're supporting our reach. So you can really see here on the screen, this year we've enrolled 400 kids and teens in our direct service programs. More than that, we're excited by the end of the year, hopefully we'll be closer to 450 kids. We've directly supported through resource navigation, patient support, getting families the resources they need, even if it's not us, more than 1,000 families this year. We distribute a resource that hopefully, if you're working in the hospital care system, you've been able to see called our Family Cancer Support Kits, an incredible 8-page booklet that Kelsey, our Chief Clinical Officer, has designed that helps families have these big conversations. That booklet, we've distributed more than 18,000 of those this year. And in terms of connecting with our folks on the ground, our oncology care providers who are really working with the parents, we've been able to reach 1,200 oncology care providers this year who have an incredible reach themselves in terms of the patients that they're supporting, the parenting patients out in the field. So just incredibly grateful for you and the way that you've really been able to connect with us and make this happen, because it would not be possible without our healthcare partners, without our volunteers, without our families who spread the word. So really excited to be able to share that this is where we are as we kind of wrap up the 2024 year and our third year in operation. So I'm going to peel a layer back and give you a little bit of a look at what we've learned this year about our families. And every year, we're kind of going a layer deeper. We're better understanding how the services that we provide, the support we provide, really matches up with families, their needs, their kids, their interests, the patient journey. So something that I've been talking about a lot with partners is that what we see right now is we provide these less intensive touch points for families to get to know Pickles Group. They are most specifically right now our family cancer support kits, that booklet I talked about, and then our How to Talk to Kids About Cancer webinars. We've got on-demand content we're working on there, but they're things that you can just pop into, you can order, you can access to learn a little bit more as a parent about how to support your kids through this experience. We've got a lot of breadth there. So we'll get families across cancer diagnoses, across stages of their cancer experience. Say, for example, if you're a mother who's been diagnosed with an early stage breast cancer diagnosis, you're really hoping, and you've been told by your doctor that, hopefully surgery is going to be curative, treatment, won't be more than maybe 6 to 8 months. What we see is that a lot of times that's all that families really are looking for from us. And in a lot of ways, they want to take a step back, from even thinking about cancer once they feel like treatment is over. So once, they kind of navigate like health insurance, what's my treatment plan? How am I going to work with the school? Am I going to take time off? Telling their kids maybe the most supportive thing that they have time to drill into, and we're really available to help them there. What we've seen over the course of these past couple years is that the more kind of complex, potentially challenging the cancer diagnosis is, the more families stick with us. And oftentimes that is in part because it's really hard to avoid a conversation with your kids about what's going on. If, this is going to be a year plus, if it's a recurrence and something that's coming back, if, you may be facing an incurable cancer, perhaps a metastatic breast cancer, and it's something your family is going to be navigating for years to come. So what we see is that the longer families stay with us, kind of the higher probability there is that they're facing more of an advanced stage cancer. And so what we're doing as a result, and the way that we're kind of tailoring and targeting our support to meet those needs, is that our middle kind of commitment for families that a lot of families check into across cancer types. We call it our 5-week Connect Over Cancer virtual program. It gives kids a dose of support. It gives them coping skills. It helps them learn about cancer and ask questions. It's only 5 weeks, and that is intentional by design because we're both able to provide some real quality social emotional support, one, within those 5 weeks. But what we see is that whether it's that early stage cancer diagnosis or a more complex or advanced stage cancer diagnosis, families can usually carve out a predictable 5 weeks where they feel ready for this. They can get their kiddos online into this virtual program, and that kind of week over week quality of service where it builds, where kids really feel part of something, is something that they're able to tap into. And then subsequently, kind of what we see, a smaller subset of families, certainly. But we do see, as I mentioned, our families facing more complex, ongoing, advanced stage cancers have really told us year over year during our first 2 years that they want something more. They're looking for something more. They want ongoing support. We're getting incredible feedback thanks to our program team about that 5-week program. And so kind of the question is what's next? And what we're doing next for families that we piloted for the first time this year, and it's a permutation of something we've done in the past, is we're doing ongoing monthly groups for kids where they're with kiddos who are the same age, called Pickles Jars. And that's meeting every month. And it's really something that's there for families as long as they want it. And it's also the place that we're piloting some new offerings, some new ways to serve families that I'll talk more about. So this is kind of the patient journey, and it's also mapped to the services that we provide. And we've been doing a lot of learning there. A couple other things that I just want to call out in terms of who we're serving this year, in case it's helpful for you to think about the organization, maybe folks in your community who might be able to benefit from Pickles Group. We do see that, especially since we're serving this population of parenting patients, breast, colon, lung, and blood cancers are really the most common cancer types, very much heavily weighted towards breast. But these shouldn't be a surprise to anybody who knows a little bit about the cancer space. This is where we're seeing more and more young patients being diagnosed. A couple other facts, 58% of our families right now face an advanced stage cancer, and that's really following kind of those trends that we're seeing. We are really intentional by design about creating inclusive spaces for families. And so 49% of our families identify as Black, Latino, Hispanic, Asian Pacific Islander, or multiracial. So we're really trying to integrate and create these inclusive spaces. And we're also really intentional about trying to reach across socioeconomic status. So 25% of our families, 1 out of 4 family right now, is self-identifying as qualifying for free and reduced lunch, which, in our kind of youth services space is a proxy for low income status. So we're continuing to really focus on creating these inclusive spaces, recognizing that, cancer does not discriminate. If anything, our most vulnerable populations, with health disparities are really facing more of this challenge. So just a little peek behind what the scenes in terms of what we have learned this year and in the past 3 years, and how we're thinking about our family community and how to kind of meet their differentiated needs. All right. So just a little bit for you about innovation and the way that we're really trying to get even more tailored to be responsive to what we're hearing from families, what we're hearing from kids. So we have piloted some programs this year that we're super excited about. And as a young organization, we're really in the midst of learning, who shows up for these programs, what's the level of interest. All of them are really responsive to our families and their needs. But as I mentioned, this monthly Pickles Jars opportunity, which is virtual and in person, that's a pilot this year. We're integrating a peer leaders program where our kiddos who've been with us for quite some time, especially our high schoolers, are having the opportunity to go through a training and give back and actually be the glue between our new kids and our program facilitators. We also have piloted bereavement support for the first time this year, and it's not open broadly to the public. We've kind of incubated and started that with our existing families, and we're working on figuring out, what the next steps are for that specific pilot. We're working to really incorporate volunteers even more closely into the way we deliver some of our in-person services where we have those. And we're even testing out things in person in a new city for the first time, beyond Chicago, which is our home base. And so far, that's been the only place that we have some in-person opportunities for families. Beyond that, in terms of community engagement and the way that we're bringing folks together to get more involved, something we're really excited about that we'll be talking even more about next year that's been a huge success is we've really drilled down and formalized the fact that our youth programs, and part of the reason that we're able to scale, are facilitated by graduate level students in nursing, child life, social work, psychology, who we recruit, bring into the program, train, and arm with a really high quality child life inspired curriculum to go out and be able to support these kids. So we are always looking, especially now that this is formalized, for opportunities to connect with graduate programs to recruit more students. It's critical to our ability to serve more youth. And that's been really effective and really exciting this year. Along with our continued collaboration with hospitals. The way that we recruit most of our families at this point, and will continue to be kind of our prime focus, is by building relationships with the healthcare providers in the oncology care department specifically, who know, that these folks have kiddos at home, and that they would really benefit from a little bit more support for their kids. And then lastly, as an organization that's really focused on providing, high quality, evidence-based, expert-led and inspired support to kids, we're trying to get more of that out there. We're trying to really help as many folks in the community, whether it's just a friend who's, knows that their sister is going through, a new cancer diagnosis, a teacher, or those folks in the hospital system. We're trying to get them tools to be as helpful as possible, because we know, enrolling in a program is not going to work for everybody. The timing might not work, all that good stuff. So we've really drilled down into some focused webinars this year. We did collaboration with partners, including a webinar focused on Black families, Spanish language support, breast cancer, and brain cancer. We've designed, thanks to Kelsey, an incredible Spanish language support kit that's accessible to families now. And we've also seen there's a real appetite from our healthcare partners to get like a little bit better, a little bit more sophistication and more tools in their toolkit to support these families as well. So this year we've also rolled out the clinician training, and these are things that we're going to continue into 2025. So 2024 has really been an innovation year. We've seen a lot of success with these innovations at the same time that we've been growing. And we expect that 2025, is really going to be leaning into all of these successes and just trying to make them more accessible to new families. All right. So looking ahead to next year, like I mentioned, we've got a lot of proof of concept here about what's working, and we've got a lot of learning that we've done this year. And next year is all about, empowering us to be able to really lean into serving more kids, making more access possible. And so we're really focused next year on doing the things we need to do as an organization, partnering with the right people to double our impact again. That's our challenge. That's our mission. That's our vision for next year. And there's so many different ways that you can help to make that possible, but that gives us these benchmarks. And so that's a pretty major kind of reach in terms of growth. But we know, that with your support, with the community that we're building, that just continues to snowball. Reaching for this goal is something that is worth doing. And it's something that together, we're really optimistic we'll be able to achieve in 2025. All right, so enough of me. I'm really thrilled to be able to introduce the core members of our growing team. Cam Dews, our program director, Kelsey Mora, our chief clinical officer, and Ileana Vazuka, our associate chief of staff. So I really want to give you the opportunity, because you might be on the other end of an email, you might be reaching out, and they're the person that you're going to be in touch with, not me, because they're really the experts here. So I want to give you the opportunity to get to know them a little bit more today, and for them to share a little bit more about their perspective personally, and then we'll kind of open it up for questions towards the end. So we're going to have a quick little panel just so you can hear from the team. And with that, I'm going to kind of kick it off, and I'll call on folks as we're going. So why don't we go Ileana, and then Kelsey, and then Cam. Our first question for you, so folks can get to know the growing team a little bit better. I would love for you to briefly introduce yourself, starting with Ileana, and then why Pickles Group for you? Why are you at this organization and not somewhere else? So I'll turn it over to you.
Hi, everyone. As Cassie said, I'm Ileana, pronouns she, her. I am in Chicago right now, come from the DC area, and I am the Associate Chief of Staff here at Pickles Group. I've been here for about 6 months now, so I'm very excited to have been growing within this role and really be a part of such an incredible team doing such amazing work. Why Pickles Group? I have a background in youth services and startups. I have a lot of interest in working in impact, and I ended up moving to Chicago to get my MBA in order to pursue work within like the social impact and nonprofit sphere, sort of with these different focuses that I had. So on its face, Pickles Group was a great fit because it is this nonprofit startup that focuses on youth services. But the part that really connected to me was the personal experience that's tied to it for myself. It was my father who was diagnosed with cancer when I was young, and then he ended up passing away when I was like a fresh adult. So, really understanding what like the Pickles kids go through, and really, being able to have that personal perspective and really see the value of programs like what we have to offer, both for the kids and teens, but also for the parents and the families, and even for the professionals that support them. All of that just really connected to me in a way where it wasn't just a good thing to do, but it was like really a calling for me. So, I've been very thankful to be here, and I'm excited to keep growing with Pickles as we double our impact.
Awesome. Kelsey, I'll turn it over to you. If you can just share a little bit about yourself and why Pickles Group for you.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Kelsey Mora, the Chief Clinical Officer for Pickles Group. I use she, her pronouns, and my background is that I'm a dual certified child life specialist and therapist, and so I come out of the hospital system. I worked in mostly the pediatric ICU for almost a decade, and what I found is that our child life services were constantly being needed in the adult units when kids were either visiting a loved one or were asking about a loved one, or when parents are asking, what do I tell my kids? How do I support my kids? And the depth of what we could provide being kind of dedicated to the pediatric hospital was really limited. And so I have worked in private practice for many years as well. And so met the founding families initially. And when I knew that they were trying to fill this gap at a larger scale, I wanted to be part of that. And so that's why I'm here. I actually left the hospital to accept the position with Pickles Group and have been here from the beginning. And I'm just really inspired by what we've collectively, with all of your support, been able to accomplish so that we truly are filling this gap and hospitals have what they need so that families have what they need to support their kids at home.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelsey. And last but not least, Cam Dews is our program director. Cam, why don't you jump in?
Hi, everyone. My name is Cam. My pronouns are she, her. I grew up on the East Coast, but I'm currently based in Los Angeles. I have spent over 5 years in the nonprofit sector, and my background was primarily in youth development and education. And I've really always been drawn to work that is centered on the growth and success of young people and the individuals that support them. Personally, my dad was diagnosed with sarcoma when I was in high school, and then my mom was diagnosed with conjunctival melanoma when I was in college. And I have two younger siblings, and so the mission of Pickles is really close to my heart. And I think a lot about what it was like going through that experience, as an adult and not having access to resources and access to other kids that knew what the experience was like. So when I found out about Pickles, I was, initially really drawn to the mission. And then additionally, in my past experience, I've always worked in, bigger organizations where it felt like there was a lot of red tape and it was really difficult to, affect change. And something that's been really incredible and special about being with Pickles for the past year and a half is that we are small but mighty, which we often say. And so in this work and in this role, I really have the opportunity to innovate and try new things and be really responsive to the feedback of our parents and our healthcare providers and our volunteers, which is really cool.
Awesome. Appreciate you all. So, just an incredible team with both personal and professional experience that really, really allows us to be able to serve our families thoughtfully and well. And we'll take questions after this too. So, but I want to get some time with the team. So, Kelsey, I'd love to start with you and then Cam and Ileana. You're, in the field, you're working with families, you're on the phone with families who are newly diagnosed all the time, families who maybe are, far along in their diagnosis, and you're really helping to make this work possible. What's your favorite Pickles memory of the year?
Yeah, so I mean, there are so many, but one that I think really stands out, that something that I'm really proud of our collective efforts, is making the family cancer support kit available in Spanish. And most recently, I had the opportunity to participate in a panel at Sinai Hospital in Chicago. It was a panel of professionals, and we also had one of our Pickles parents on the panel, and a hematologist oncologist and a psychologist from Sinai Hospital. And it was delivered in Spanish. It was in honor of Dia de los Muertos. And I was able to pass out the Spanish Family Cancer Support Kit to so many families who were proximate to that community. The hospital serves, I think they said 92% of their patient population are Hispanic. And it was really just amazing to be able to hand that out and know that we were not only supporting families with those tips, but also in a culturally sensitive and accessible way. And that support kit was a collective effort from a lot of our partners who specialize in equity work. I know we even have a professional on this call who helped edit the support kit. So just really, that was just a really big memory, and one that continues to impact families every day.
Awesome. Cam, what about you? Cam is really in the field with our families, probably more so than anyone else. So I'd love to hear from you. Cam, what's your favorite memory from 2024 with the Pickles Group?
Yeah, like Kelsey said, it was definitely hard to just pick one, because there just have been so many standout moments. But I think something that I was really proud of this year was the incorporation of the peer leaders and the peer leader training. To see these kids who have been a part of Pickles since its inception, and they truly feel like they've benefited so much from the program that they want to now turn around and take the skills that they've developed and use their experience to support and be role models for other kids is just so incredible and so inspiring. One of our peer leaders, who I can shout her out, Molly, who initially came to her dad like with the idea for Pickles, had said at our peer leader training that she wanted to create a place where you can hang out when you want to, and also talk about tough stuff when you want to as well. And so just to see them taking what they've learned and turning it around and creating those spaces for other kids, and really being that model for them is so special. And recently we had a parent share that their teen was nervous to attend because they didn't know if there would be any other teenagers. And when they arrived, 3 of our peer leaders like immediately went up to them and welcomed them. And so it's been really incredible just to see in the past couple of months how they've been able to like show up for others.
Amazing. Yeah, and just, a lot of the evolution that we see too, like some of what we're being able to grow into is growing with our kids, and the opportunity for kids who've been with us to really give back is really special. So just appreciate you leading that work, Cam. Ileana, what about you? What was your favorite Pickles memory of the year?
Even though I'm, not even here for a full year, I feel like I already have so many highlights, like the others said. But something that really stands out to me actually happened recently. I was talking with one of our Pickles kids, and we were actually talking about, highlights of 2024 and just kind of, doing a nice little year reflection. And something that they said about Pickles Group was that they really love being at Pickles Group because they get to talk about what they call the tragedy of cancer with other kids, because it feels good and it makes them feel better and makes them feel happy. And like that moment, of course, is like a big highlight because it shows that our programs are really helping him, especially since, their family were recently bereaved. So, being able to help him through that grief and like normalize those conversations and, be able to feel those things in a way that feels just supportive and good. Love that we've been able to do that, but also I think it just kind of summarizes an overall experience that I'm sure like a lot of us can relate to, is that my favorite thing about being at Pickles is the healing that comes from working in this space or interacting with other people in this space. I think it really is such a phenomenally moving thing that I've seen with the kids and with the families, but even with like the partners that I speak with. You know, everyone has proximity to cancer in this day and age, and being able to like connect on that level and validate these things that are so heavy and find a way to pay it forward. It's truly a gift that I think a lot of us leaning into this space really do appreciate and gain from.
Awesome. All right, so super quick top line. I'll start with you, Ileana, and then go to Kelsey. What are you most excited about for next year?
I'm really excited to see what we can create for our partnerships. A lot of what I do is interacting with our partners. You know, as everything we offer is entirely free, it's the partnerships that we form that really help us connect with the families we serve and those who truly need what we have to offer the most. So in 2025, there's sort of an opportunity to give back and continue to build on what we have with like the clinician webinar and just really fortify these partnerships in a greater way that just feels better for everyone overall and really gives people the tools they need to do well in this space. So I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. Kelsey, what about you?
Yeah, so what I'm most excited about is really taking our content and expertise to the next level. I feel like we're kind of coming out of startup mode and we just have so much value to offer families and clinicians. And so I think Cassie, you said it the other day, like if we have the great content but no one sees it, then it doesn't get, to the people who need it. And so I'm really looking forward to working super hard to make sure that the content we've created is able to get in front of every family who needs it, and that when people are thinking about kids who have a parent with cancer, that they're thinking about Pickles Group. And so just excited to make that happen and take things to the next level.
Awesome. All right, Cam, what about you?
I think I mentioned, a little earlier about like what I love so much about being a part of Pickles Group is that we're really able to, innovate. And so some of the things I'm most excited about in 2025, I know Cassie mentioned our like pilot program that we're working on called Pickles Jars. And so what I'm, most looking forward to is, piloting these programs and, building on feedback from families and kids and partners and being able to be more inclusive and responsive to families' wants and needs and meeting them where they are.
All right. So if you're in a place where you can get engaged, one of the things we do, one of our Pickles traditions, and it's timely because next week is Thanksgiving, so I know a lot of people are doing end of year reflection, just thinking about thanks. But one of the things we do with our kids, you can kind of see here, we do it virtually, we do it in person, is something we call a gratitude circle. So at the end of every session, whether life is handing you a week or a day that is sweet or sour, we really love to lean into what we're grateful for, not to gloss over the things that are challenging or the hard things from that day, but just to recognize you can hold both at the same time. And oftentimes that is, that can feel hard for our kids, or they might even feel guilty, to be excited that they won their soccer game as their mom is going through this challenge. So we like to embrace gratitude at Pickles Group. It is healing. It is one of those good things for your brain. So if you're in a place where you can throw it in the chat, and the team certainly would just love for you to kind of participate in a gratitude circle with us and throw in the chat something that you're grateful for today. We're certainly grateful for you. Our community is really what makes this work possible. And it's the reason that we're able to connect with families. It's the reason we're so optimistic about continuing to grow. So if you've got something you're grateful for, throw it in the chat. And I just want to emphasize, we are so sincerely grateful and appreciative of your partnership, your support, you really being there, and centering and really lifting up the needs of these kids, because there are too many of them, and we would love to be in a world where our services were not needed. But until that's not true, your partnership is really, really what makes this work possible. So just appreciate you. And if you want to throw something you're grateful for in the chat, we'd love to hear it today as one of our Pickles traditions we like to close with. So just some fun pictures from our most recent in-person event in Chicago. And then as we wrap up, we'll make some time for Q&A, but if you want to get more involved, we'll send an email out after this, but a few things you can do immediately that are really helpful. So if you're not following us on social media, please spread the word. We'd love that. And please share with, families, hospitals, schools, other nonprofits, graduate programs, just if it comes up, if you can make it come up, like we're all about awareness, like Kelsey said. So that's just a huge way to help support. Stay engaged. So we'll have more volunteer updates. We're really working on building out more robust volunteer opportunities, whether you're in a position where you can work with the kids or you're in a position where you'd like to do something else, maybe help us connect with hospitals. We'd love for you to get more involved. If you're not already, keep sending those referrals our way. And then you'll be hearing more. So we are on a mission to double our impact next year. And none of that is possible without the funding to be able to make that possible. So the investments in our kids, the investments in our families, sending out those support kits, being able to deliver the program are invaluable. And we're working really hard between now and December 31st on a trajectory to raise $500,000, which is what we need to close out the year and be able to serve 800 kids through those direct service programs and do the rest of that work that we talked about. So I'm grateful for you, certainly consider making an investment and share with friends, family. If, you've got an employer who has a corporate match, like, somebody who is a grant maker, in your life, any of those things, like we really, really appreciate all the ways that you're helping to make the work possible. So with that, we'll go back and would just love to open it up. We've got a little bit of time and we can take 1 or 2 questions. So if you have any, we'll take 2 questions before we close out. But if anybody has any questions, feel free. You can either throw them in the chat or take yourself off mute and we'll answer a question or 2 before we wrap up. And you'll get our contact information. So if we can't answer right now, we can do that offline as well. So any questions from anybody about the state of Pickles Group, where we are and how we're wrapping up this year?
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Angela, and I work at Grady Cancer Center in Georgia, and I would love to partner with you all. And since most of the activities are virtual, that would be possible for us to do. And then
100%.
also I saw something about a training. I'm interested in that as well.
Okay, amazing. Love that. Yes. So we've got pictures on the screen of families in person. We do have some in-person programming in Chicago, and we're piloting our second city in Columbus. But the vast majority of the high quality services we provide are actually virtual. So we'll 100% follow up with you. We've got our Connect Over Cancer virtual program coming up, launching in January for the next quarter, and also the clinician trainings on December 4th, the next one. So we will get you all that information and would love to set up some time to talk to you about partnering even further. It's great.
Thank you.
Of course.
I appreciate you all.
Of course. Appreciate you. All right. Carol's got a question. So may I know the difference between the group and the monthly jars as well as the range they cover? Yeah, great question. So all of our programming is for kids. We call it school age, ages 6 to 18. So kind of looking at our first graders through our high schoolers. The 5-week Connect Over Cancer program is a back-to-back-to-back 5 weeks in a row. We offer it on a quarterly basis. And then the Pickles Jars program is a little bit more spaced out. So it's monthly. Both of them are closed groups where kids are going to be in a group with kids who are a similar age. We keep kids together. So we tend to see that folks who are interested in the Pickles Jars, that's more of a long-term commitment. It's often families facing advanced stage cancer, but it's not exclusive to that. So we'll be sharing out more about the Pickles Jars is in a pilot mode right now, but we anticipate that we'll be opening it up next year and the 5-week program. The next one is in January. So the deadline's in December and we'll get you all that info. Great question. Okay, so we got time. We wrapped up those two questions. So just appreciate all of you. Can't say enough thank you to everybody who's volunteering, giving, doing the important work to, do as much as they can for our parenting patients. Really grateful for you, and we're excited about the year ahead. So thanks for spending some time with us. We'll send the recording to you in case it's helpful for anybody else in your life, and we'll get you all those links. But enjoy the rest of the day, and just know that we are so glad you're part of our Pickles community. Take care, everyone.